All right, so we're gonna start the meditation. I'm gonna put the timer with a nice little bell. We're gonna meditate for about 10 minutes. I know it takes about 15 minutes to get into meditation. We can meditate for 10. So you have to warp speed, okay? All right. Begin with this understanding. The truth is already here. So there's nothing to do to make truth. Truth is already here. And every experience is arising from truth. Every experience, no matter what the experience is, whether it is an experience that you want, experience you don't want, it is arising from truth. So stay connected to whatever experience you have with a slight thought, slight understanding that this is arising from truth. Like you're looking at something and you know it is a mirage and there's something behind it creating the mirage. Okay. So have that intention to connect to truth. And don't imagine what truth will be like, what it should be like. It's already here. You don't have to imagine it, okay? That's what I mean by it's not something you have to create. It's already here. Whatever you're experiencing is already arising from truth. For you poet out there, it is already arising from the fundamental matrix, already arising from the fundamental basis. All right. For those who are mystical, from the primordial essence. Holding that in mind, take a nice deep breath with a strong intention to connect. And as you release the breath, just let yourself go. Let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go, let yourself go into whatever is happening, let yourself go into whatever is happening, let yourself go into whatever is happening, let yourself go, let yourself go. Let all tension go in the body. Let all tension go in the breath, in the mind, to whatever extent that you can. Just let go. The only thinking that you are going to hold on to is the understanding or the curiosity. Everything is arising from primordial essence. So whenever anything comes into mind, immediately tell yourself, this too is arising from primordial essence. And relax. Keep relaxing and hold on to that thought. You're not pushing any experience away. You're not grasping onto any experience. If you are uncomfortable, without losing the thought, the intention, make whatever adjustments you need to make so you can become as comfortable as you can. And at the same time, reminding yourself this discomfort is arising from primordial essence. And as much as you can, keep relaxing. Don't imagine what primordial essence is supposed to be. And the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave you alone for the next 5 minutes. That might be too long for some, but don't worry, we're here. The last guidance I'm going to give you is this. Each time any perception impresses itself upon you, immediately remind yourself this is arising from primordial essence. If the word primordial essence doesn't quite sit nicely with you, choose something else that closely resembles it. Primordial nature, fundamental bliss, whatever works for you. But don't imagine it to be something. And relax. primordial essence or nature is the teacher. His primordial nature is the very teaching and the path. His primordial essence, nature, make up the companions on the path. Get ready to come out of the meditation. Feel the sense of openness that is in your mind right now and be open to whatever will serve you, whatever will be of help to you. Let your mind be open to it. It may not necessarily be the direct words that I say, but maybe a word I say will trigger something. So be open to that. And give gratitude to your mind for its capacity to be able to do this. And perhaps whatever gifts you are able to get from this may it serve you and help you serve others you encounter. Right. Make the intention to come out. With that intention, take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe out, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings. That is, deliberately reconnect with your immediate surroundings, your sense of hearing, sense of touch, and sense of sight. All right, so in trying to make this stick as strong as I can, I will have to lose myself. And in losing myself, I may have to be a bit vulnerable. That is, share things with you that I normally would not. I'm not going to. uh, but I may repeat things that I've already said in the last with the last session that we had. So bear with that. I just want to really uh, bring to bear the importance of knowing ignorance. So perhaps let me start with sort of the background story as to why I thought about this. Not entirely the details of it, but somewhat vague enough so that I don't divulge any specifics, but I hope you get the meaning. So I went through an experience where at the end of the experience, I ended up having to question a lot of things that I thought were firm, unquestionable beliefs about myself. Beliefs about okay, I'm not perfectly moral, I'm not perfectly ethical, but at least I thought I was better than average. Okay. All right. My ego told me that I thought even better than that. And I firmly identified with my excuse me. I firmly identify my personality with someone who is compassionate, someone who is uh, who is moved by by uh, by intentions of love, who is moved by uh, intentions of generosity. And this was a strong belief that I held about myself until I encountered I guess, a situation that came up in my life where I realized that this very compassion that I thought I had, and what is the intention of compassion? The intention of compassion is I see pain and suffering, and I am moved to do something about it. I want to help the other side alleviate itself from the suffering. I see a lacking on that side, and I feel moved to remove that lacking and then practice generosity to my capacity. And I thought of my ethics as being um, well, I thought I had very strong ethics in a sense of my ethics is rooted in my compassion. If compassion propels me to act, then it becomes ethical. And I was a strong believer of that, but not so much a strong believer of that, like I'm looking at examples of it, I say, oh, that's a wonderful thing. But rather a strong belief that that's my personality, that's who I am. And compassion being the sort of like the foundation, I believe my personality sort of grew out of the identity that I have about myself is grows out of a sense of or a wish for to express compassion. Remember, the aim of compassion is to remove pain and suffering. So although the intention to remove pain or suffering is present, that itself is very noble. That itself is something that should be praised. But when and before I go into the connected to the topic, I ask you for permission to let me sort of drag it out, so to speak. So, so throughout my life, I've encountered situations where I thought, ah, what is it's my compassion behave acting here? Let me let compassion take over. This person comes, is in trouble, help this person out. This person needs something, give that person what they're asking for. So it seems like Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful kind of life to be living, motivated by compassion, motivated by a sense of generosity, motivated by a sense of love and connection, until life sort of, through a specific kind of situation, what seems to be acting out of compassion ends up being something that actually harms someone else. So what do you do with this situation? Someone is asking you for something, okay, an opportunity to act out of compassion, an opportunity to act out of generosity, to give what is being asked for. Yet what is being asked for, if it is given, will harm someone else. And this is where it has to be Mr. It cannot be Mrs. It's Mr. Ignorance. It's not Mrs. Ignorance. Okay. Mr. Ignorance comes in because in Buddhism, wisdom is associated with female, feminine energy. So I can call ignorance Mrs. Okay. Uh, so Mr. Ignorance comes in and tells me that I'll just leave it to me. Okay. I'll handle the situation for you. This is compassion that you have. And what's wrong with compassion? Act out of compassion. And making myself believe that I was acting out of compassion, I made myself, this is where ignorance comes in, I made myself unaware and disconnected to the harm that I was doing to someone else. And I ended up formulating, and this is ignorance taking over, I ended up formulating that there was something wrong with that person. Why can't that person see that a good thing is being done here? Compassion is acting, make way, let compassion act. What's wrong with that person for not being able, that person is so unevolved for not being able to see compassion is acting, is on stage. And the thing is, ignorance knows that if I consciously knew that's what became my active premise for acting, I would not do it. I would hesitate. But ignorance kept throwing at me, you're just being compassionate. Just be compassionate. Okay? Don't be confused. It's a compassionate thing to do. This thing that you are going to do, this thing itself is the compassionate thing to do. So ignorance, remember, has, even though the classic definition of ignorance, the philosophical definition of ignorance in Buddhism or in Eastern philosophy or mystical philosophy is not necessarily not knowing something, but rather it is an active knowing, an active misknowing an active misknowing. But it also has a not knowing, but not knowing in the sense of there's no way for me to come to know, but rather I do not wish to see what is there, kind of not knowing. Okay. Like the meditation that we were doing, the fundamental primordial essence is already here, but we don't see it directly. And because we don't see it directly, so that there's a not knowing of it. But this not knowing of it is not there for us not to know, but rather we are veiled by an active misunderstanding of what is present. And this active misunderstanding of what is present is presenting itself as this is knowledge. This is the knowing of what is. And also, remember, there is this blinders that you have that we put on. I mean, ignorance is deliberately doing this and say, I see. Ignorance is doing this and say, I hear. Okay. So my action, which I thought was compassionate action, and it was hurting someone else, the blinders made me not see that it's not my action that is creating the harm in the other. There's no connection. So that's a blinder, not seeing a connection. And the other blinder is not really seeing how is this harming this person, this other person? How come this be harming this other person? So the blinders made me not see. There's a beautiful sutta called actually Ignorance Sutta. You can find it online. It's been translated. The Ignorance Sutta. And in there, the Buddha it's two very small paragraphs where the Buddha just says, ignorance is the leader of all unskillful actions. And because it leads to unskillfulness, it leads for the person to not basically we lose our connection to morality and ethics. Morality and ethic that is connected to wisdom, to reality as it is. Reality as it is wisdom. Not seeing it as it is, and yet projecting onto what we are experiencing something else that is ignorance. This action, this way of moving in the world, this way, it forces us to do things that are unskillful. What does it mean that are unskillful? I wanted to do something compassionate. But because I was not seeing how this action was harming to someone else, I forced myself to say, this is completely compassionate. This is completely an act of generosity. I ended up harming the other person and being blind to seeing myself harming this other person. So I ended up having intentions connected to my what I thought was proper understanding, which was ignorance, having views, having ideas, having beliefs that has nothing to do with reality. And these beliefs and these ideas made me speak where I am angry at this other person. What is wrong with you? Can't you see this is a compassionate act? Why are you so unevolved that you cannot see this is compassion? And so all these things that comes from it, the kind of thinking that I was entertaining about myself, about this person, about the situation, about the other person, they were all misunderstandings. And I ended up, and that's why it makes it leads to unskillful, because what I thought was a skillful act of compassion, guess what it did? It ended up not helping the person who was supposed to be helping, and it didn't help me. It didn't help the other person. So that's what it means. That's what the Buddha meant, is that it leads to unskillfulness. Skillful in the sense, what is skillful? Skill is you have an intention to do something, and the outcome is exactly what you intended to do. This is called having done something with skill. Okay. So if you want to, what is it that compassion wants? Compassion wants to remove suffering. And because this noble intention is governed by ignorance, not understanding reality, not allowing myself to see the person who is suffering, what is really there, and what else is connected to this situation. If I step into it, who do I bring into it also? Because the reality is we are connected, whether we want to accept it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, we are connected. When you go into a situation, you're not just bringing yourself into that situation. People who are close to you are also being brought into that situation. Like a husband and a wife, and then one of them goes out gambling, even though the other one is not there sitting in the gambling hall with them. The other one is made to experience whatever is experiencing in that. Okay. And ignorance blinds us to how we are connected. So when I was acting, thinking what I was doing was an act of compassion, I was blinded to that. I wasn't really seeing the situation for what it was. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help someone. There's nothing wrong with wanting to alleviate suffering that you see. But if our action is not connected to wisdom, and don't let the word wisdom scare you, don't let the word wisdom scare you. It's not some fancy abstract term. It's simply seeing things as they are. That's what it all means. Seeing things as they are. Yes, this person needs help, but it doesn't necessarily mean this action that I'm taking will necessarily be the means of providing that help. Perhaps the way of providing that help is to not help. Perhaps what I'm blinded to is not just I see the art. It's not simply not seeing the suffering of the real condition of the person, but I'm blinded to what else has been triggered within me. Perhaps it's disguising itself as compassion. Perhaps I have some sort of psychological weakness that makes it uncomfortable for me to perceive myself a certain way. And that's what was really motivating me. So ignorance blinded me to that. And that's why I have this sort of strong, almost like a strong determination, sort of like a go out there and have a protest and hold placards, you know, down with ignorance, down with ignorance. Because I am not young. That means all these years that I thought my actions were compassionate, they probably were not. I was just some psychological trauma that I was not able to deal with. And I disguised it with compassion. And what is that? For whatever reason, I'm conditioned to, I'm not able to say no. Someone comes to me, asks me for help. I make myself believe, this person needs help. Let me help this person. But what's really present, what's really acting is, I can't say no. And ignorance blind me to this. That's what's really happening. So all these years, it was just my capacity, my inability to say no that was present, acting, and I fooled myself to think that I was being compassionate. I was generous. That's the danger. That's the insidiousness of ignorance. The aim of compassion remains remove suffering. And sometimes the wisest thing to do is for you to do nothing. When we feel compelled to do something, it might be just ego. And you have to be very careful. An ego, that part of us that is grasping onto misunderstanding, that is, this is how the world is, and this is how I'm going to behave. This statement, this is how the world is, we made it up. It's what we are projecting onto the world, not what the world is telling us. Okay. So my generosity, yes, I'm not saying there was no intention of generosity whatsoever. There was no compassion whatsoever. But life is complicated. My intention of compassion is mixed up with some sort of psychological trauma of not being able to say no. And because I was not aware of this, I was building up an image, an identity completely based on misunderstanding, not knowing who I am. And this misunderstanding ended up harming other people. Now, who else in my life, I have to say, was I harming? Did I harm? Because I wasn't born and stayed in a cave, and this was the first situation that ever came to my life. How many times, thinking that I was acting out of compassion, that I was being generous, when I was really harming? The intention to be connected to compassion is still there. To truly honor it, I have to let myself see what is really here, how to really help this person. And sometimes I have to, we have to examine ourselves truthfully and see that I don't have the resources to help this person. If I keep on holding on to this person, keep promising this person I'm going to help them, and I don't have the resources to help them, then eventually what I'm doing is I'm stopping this person from finding the help that they need. They should now come to the wisdom. I should help them come to the wisdom, that is the facts as they are, that I cannot help. And this hurts for me to say, I cannot help. I have to get over it. I cannot drag someone while they need help, giving them hope that they're going to be helped when I do not have the capacity to help them. I do not know where you can get help, but I know it cannot be from here. So I have to convey this to you so that you have the knowledge, the wisdom of knowing, not there. Let me go somewhere else. This is the compassionate thing to do. And because of my psychological weakness of not being able to say no, psychological weakness of, and this is weird when you say it, but it's very strong. I don't want someone to think bad of me. I mean, it sounds outrageous that this kind that this is a quality of a personality, of different personalities, but it is there. It is the truth. It is a painful thing for my mind to think someone is thinking bad about me. So I try to overcome that. And this thing, it is bad for someone to think bad about me. That itself is an imposition on reality. That is demanding something from reality that reality just doesn't have to provide. Okay. So what? Somebody that someone that thinks bad, someone who's not thinking nice thoughts about you. So what? There's something else in there. So how did I come to this very depressing, sad realization? I let myself see, I did this this thing that I thought what I was doing was a good thing. That person is actually hurt. I thought I was just bringing myself into the situation, but I was unaware of the connections that are with me that I was bringing, that I was forcing into the situation also. So this unawareness, we have to begin to look at it directly. Begin with looking at the unskillfulness that is the result of unskillfulness. That is, I intended to help this person. Look at the actual outcome. No one is helped. The person, it has become dependent on me, no longer able to help themselves. That's one thing. And the person is not really out of the situation that they wanted to be out of in the first place. They are still in that situation. Now they become dependent on me, looking towards me, hoping that because I'm promising that I'm going to get them out, and I don't have the resources to do so. So I made them dependent on a source that is unreliable, that is incapable of actually helping them come out of it. So that is the result. The result is that the person is still I've acted, it seems like, and the result is that the person is still in the same situation or even worse. So we look at that. That is the result of unskillfulness. So when we are perceiving unskillfulness, immediately we should think that there's a misunderstanding that I acted out of some misunderstanding. And we have to look directly at our misunderstanding. That is, what is the situation? And what is my understanding of the situation? How do I think the situation is? That is looking at our misunderstanding. So the path to wisdom actually begins by looking at our ignorance. That is the reason why perhaps you may study wisdom for a very long time. It is this, and it will remain this ever abstract, beautiful thing that's in the sky that you can never touch. Because somehow we are thinking of leaping over our ignorance and then somehow plop into wisdom. That's not how wisdom is gained. The way to get to wisdom is to look squarely at our ignorance. Look squarely at how we misunderstand things. And what does that mean, misunderstand things? The very way we think we are understanding something, that is the misunderstanding. I understood that this was a compassionate thing to do. That is my misunderstanding. It is not. I'm not really helping. I'm making someone dependent. I'm not being generous. I'm actually taking things from this place, which needs to be in this place, and bring it over here. That's not being generous. Depriving your future of what it needs so that you can give it away to someone else is not necessarily, may not necessarily be helping. If you have no way of replenishing that. I'm not talking about like this mention you were going to have and now you're not going to have it anymore. I'm talking about necessities, things that will now, once you reach that point and you don't have it, you're going to have to make someone deprive themselves in order for you to come out to have it. Okay, so like you're dispossessing this person or forcing this person to be dispossessed so that you can have this person achieve possessiveness, whatever it may be. Yes, this person needs help, but dispossessing this person so that this person can possess, and this other person that this is possessing could be your future self, is not really helping. You're just taking the trouble from one place and putting it in another place. You're not getting rid of the problem. I wasn't doing that. And what I thought was my understanding of the situation, I had to sit with that, sit with it. And the way to begin to sit with it, and I'm taking this paradigm from this rabbi I met, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. And this rabbi was talking about the different paradigms in terms of world spirituality, no, consciousness, no, collective consciousness, whatever nice way to say it. He said in the first paradigm, it was the paradigm of the king and the subject. Knowledge came from the king, and you are the subject of the king. You just take it. You don't question. You just take it. In the second paradigm is the paradigm of the parent and the child. Okay. So you are taken care of, you're provided for so that you can grow and become your own independent eventually. But you remained under the care where you can somewhat question what is coming from the parent, but only to make yourself adapt to it. Okay, they're still in control and you're still just a child. That's the second part, spiritual paradigm. And that's the spiritual paradigm that we sort of left. And there's still vestiges of the king and the mother and the parent. Now, he said, the paradigm that we are experiencing is the paradigm of cooperation. Okay. And this is not only in a sense of outside towards you, like outside is the king, and then you're the subject, and then you're the good servant, or the outside is the parent and you're the child, or now the outside is there are companions along the way, but rather also with our own selves. We have to look at the different parts of us, not a king towards its subject. Oh, my bad mental afflictions. How dare you? You sit over there. You go over there. You go over here. You get out of here. That's the kingly attitude towards our mental afflictions, the parts of us that are troublesome, connected with misunderstanding. And then there's the parent, where we are giving an order to a child because we know better. Now, with the cooperation paradigm, we have to understand that our ignorance intention, we have an ignorance, the intention that gave rise to ignorance is not some evil genius trying to control us, but rather it is an attempt at wanting to understand, but stopping short. Okay. And we have to approach our understandings that are misunderstandings with this sort of paradigm in mind. Don't look at our ignorance as an invader that we have to chase out. Okay, who invaded our kingdom, or a subject who's not behaving properly, but rather a part of us that has the same goal as all of us, all the parts of us, that has the same goal as wholeness. So in trying to arrive at understanding, I approach the situation. But we are connected not just to other people in other events and environments, but we are also connected to our past. We are connected to different parts of us are connected, influencing each other. So when you approach a situation, don't think it's the king giving an order. It's a collective. There's probably a part of you, a traumatic part of you, a part of you that is in trauma, traumatized, that is leading the charge. And the other parts of you has to corral around that traumatized part of you and help it. We did not have and this is a realization that I also came up with during this time, a way of understanding what the rabbi said about 20 years ago about this is a cooperation now. There is really no such thing. I probably said that last time, but I don't know if I did, but I'm saying it again. There is really no such thing as self-sabotage. There's really no such thing as self-hatred. It doesn't exist. Okay? Yes, there is self-harm, but it doesn't come from self-hatred. It doesn't come from intention to sabotage the self. Listen to this and approach all the when you're corralling all the different parts of you, corral it with this understanding. Every part of us, no matter how destructive in behavior, its intention is self-love. Its intention is self-care. The very trauma, the very reactivity to a trauma that happened was a self-caring mechanism. It was a self-loving mechanism that was acting. Yes, the outcome is unskillful. Why? Because there was the understanding of the situation. There was a misunderstanding, and this misunderstanding led to acting. And because this acting came from misunderstanding, not fully understanding the situation, and making itself believe I understand the situation, and acting out of that, and ending up with the result where it is harmful, something that harms the self. And this is why, and from personal experience, I can say, when we approach the problem, when we observe behavior, that is, we say the outcome of this behavior is that it's harming me. When we approach it with, I hate myself, I don't love myself, and we are looking for that part that hates myself, and you find yourself not able to see it, to find it, because it doesn't exist. It's like, I keep doing this thing. Okay. Which one of us here hates me, hates us? And everybody's looking around. Who's he talking about? Who's he talking about? Okay, who here is hating the self? Where is it? And no one is responding. And since no one is responding, you can't get rid of the behavior. Because we started out with thinking that one of us here hates me, and one of us here must come out and confess and testify why it hates us. And since every part of us is acting from intention is, okay, saying no hurts us. Out of love for us, let's not say no. That's where it came from. Someone else thinking bad about me is harmful to us. So let us not make people think bad about me because we don't want to be hurt. That's coming from a kind of self-love. That's coming from self-care. Misguided because it misunderstood the situation. The first time as a child, you're aware that, wait a minute, where's my caregiver? My caregiver is not here. Okay, my caregiver don't love me anymore. My caregiver hates me. And my caregiver can only hate me only if I'm a hateable thing. So I am a hateable thing. And now to care for the self, we have to create a situation to deal with being hated by a caregiver. So we create a reactivity to that. And it becomes a motivation when we are dealing with others. I don't want to be hated because I can be hated by a caregiver. So let me approach this relationship in such a way that I make sure that this person doesn't hate me. But since this is coming from misunderstanding reality, the intention, the beliefs, the things that we do, the things that we say, are all wrong. And they end up being unskillful. Instead of this person that you love to love you back the way you want to be loved, the person grows distant from you because you're approaching the whole thing from a misunderstanding. That's what ignorance does. It robs us of the love that we want, that we need. It robs us of being aware of the close intimacy that exists, that is already present. It makes us think that we are disconnected when we are not. It makes us yearn for connection when it's already there. Looking for connection when connection is already there, like wearing your glasses and you're looking for your glasses and you can find them because you're already wearing them. I hope I stress, I'm not sure if I did, but I sort of gave my somewhat personal experience of my recent, by recent, I mean, many months ago, and it's still feeling the effect of it. Every once in a while, some sort of realization comes, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. This is what ignorance has been making me do all this time. And the worst thing about ignorance is that it is a deceiver. That's the worst part about ignorance. It's deceiver. What is it deceiving us? What is it deceiving us? It is presenting us with something and says, this is truth, when it is not. Without knowing the intricacies of life, of society, caregivers have to go away somewhere so that your life can continue as it is. And it is their way of taking care of you. But not understanding this, you draw some conclusion based on a tiny bit of information that we have, and we make this into a worldview. Oh, that's what caregivers are. Okay, and then we act on that, and eventually, this moment is crystallized within us as a conviction, and we become unaware of it, that it is guiding us. And we are building up other kinds of identities completely false because the foundation we haven't really dealt with the foundation yet. We're just building things, cities in the sky. and we try to move in them and we can't move in them, we get angry, we get frustrated, not realizing that there are cities built in the sky. You can't move into them. And knowing that the path to wisdom begins with really looking at how we understand things and let whatever is present be known. In the earlier, in the very early teachings, where the Buddha is describing meditation. What is meditation? Aligning the mind to reality. That's what meditation is. Aligning your mind to reality as it is. Okay. When you're doing that, steadying the mind, what is happening? So it doesn't really matter what meditation you're doing, whether you're meditation on some, trying to hold an image of a flower, trying to follow your breath, trying to visualize fire, or trying to feel some feeling. The Buddha didn't say it's no longer meditation when you're distracted. The Buddha never said that it's no longer valid meditation when you have anger, when you have sleepiness, when you have other kinds of experience happening. In fact, it says, while meditating on the breath or the flower or whatever, and distraction comes up, you are aware, there is distraction. While you are trying to meditate on the flame, and all of a sudden you remember something that a colleague said, that, and you're angry, and the anger comes up, and you are aware, there is anger now. There's remembering the words of my colleague said. He didn't say, you lost it. He said, you are meditating and being aware of what's happening. That is the means of acquiring wisdom. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know that when we have this good intention of gaining wisdom, we make the mistake of going after some abstract. Like wisdom is some abstract, something that we've never seen before, and we will be shocked when we see it, and we're waiting to be shocked. We're waiting for this exotic thing. We are shopping for this exotic thing, and we never get there. When we are forgetting the path to wisdom is to simply see what is going on. We think the path to wisdom is we get into a bliss boat, and then we take into this beautiful vista. And if we are uncomfortable, if we are sad, if we are depressed, we think, so my path to wisdom is ruined. The very depression, the very sadness, the very discomfort, we have to look at it. That's where wisdom resides. I am uncomfortable, and it is what's happening. That is wisdom. I am very upset, and that's what's really happening. This is wisdom. I am not happy about what's going on, and you're not happy about what's going on. That is wisdom. But thinking that, I'm not supposed to be a sad person, and you're sad, and you try to create a fantasy of not being sad. That's not going towards wisdom. That's enhancing ignorance, not being aware of what's actually taking place. And the instinct to run away from it is natural. I am sad, I am in pain, and at the same time, there's this urge to get away from this. I am aware of this urge. This is wisdom. Whatever is actually taking place, being aware of it, that is the path of wisdom. What is the first noble truth? What is the first thing realized by wisdom? Is it there is bliss and there's a path to bliss? That's not how the Four Noble Truth is related. There is your reality as it is. The very fact that you're looking for it means that you're already in trouble. Okay. If you are already in bliss, there would not be even a need to look at it. The very instinct to look means we're not there. And then seeing that we are not there, that's the first truth. That's the first noble truth. I am not in bliss. That's the first noble truth. The first noble truth isn't, oh, there's a beautiful world next door. Eventually I would like to go there. The first noble truth is that there is nirvana. The first noble truth is, look at your life. Let me look at my life. In trying to understand life, I came up with a lot of misunderstandings. And I have to see this misunderstanding as what they are. And I have to realize also there was no evil monster lurking within me, deliberately trying to harm me. It was my attempt at self-love, self-care. And self-love and self-care is still here. So when you realize this behavior that you shouldn't be having, that is harming you, don't look for who here is trying to harm me, but rather say, who in trying to take care of us thought this was a good idea? Thank you for trying to take care of us. But as you can see, that's not what you really wanted to do. Then maybe that part of us will say, oh, this is not self-caring. Let me get rid of it. Okay. And sorry, supposed to make you leave earlier. But here we go, as usual. So you're not shocked. I shocked you by starting on time, but I'm not shocking you by ending late. So your expectations are safe. I wish I could ask you some questions, but I know it's late. So if any questions come to mind, you can send an email to Phuntsok at thuptenphuntsok.com. Yeah, that's it. I just made that email a while ago, so I don't remember. It's Phuntsok at Thupten Phuntsok. The email that you got the email from. Okay. All right. So I don't know to what extent I really convey the sense of urgency. Watch out. Ignorance is everywhere. It's lurking, especially in where you think you are being wise and being ethical and having beautiful qualities. Okay. Your real, true intention is not being fulfilled. So take a look at it so you can begin to redirect and look at the pain that is there. And it will lead you to the underlying bliss. Okay. All right. We're going to do, so sorry, and I won't be able to take questions or comments, but we'll do a very brief meditation. Actually, I didn't, in the meditation, begin to sit nicely so you can meditate. The instruction that I wanted to give you is an attitude with the meditation that we had before. What is the attitude when you come from a room with all the lights are lit and you go into a room where there's no light lit and you close the door? You see absolutely nothing. What do? Do you freak out, bang on the door? No, you just stay still. And eventually, the measure of light that is there begins to appear, begin to see. You begin to see, oh, the table is over there, the chair's over there, the coffee cup is over there. You begin to see just by allowing, but letting, just letting your eyes become accustomed, acclimated, okay? So when you're doing the meditation, just like the light is the object that you're waiting to come to experience with your eyes, what I'm referring to as the fundamental, the primal module essence, the truth that is always there, reality as it is. It's like the light. And you're coming from a place of brightness and you're acclimating. And the I is the sense of I know. You have to let your sense of I know acclimate. Now, it seems like I have no idea what that word is, how to say it anymore. I'm not sure if I said it correctly or not. And so what is it that you're acclimating it to? To whatever experience you're having. Just like you don't force the chair to appear and then the chair appears. You just relax and the chair begins to appear. So whatever experience you're having, whether it's painful, pleasant, unpleasant, boring, exciting, it's like that's the darkness. Okay? And just be with them, and then eventually what's underneath them, the real truth, will begin to emerge, like the light begins to emerge. Okay? So go do the meditation with that sort of attitude. Right? And whatever is going on, be honest with it. My God, this is the most boring meditation I've ever had. If that's what's happening, be with it. Don't run away because it's boring. I am experiencing boredom. Okay. I hope you're sitting correctly, sitting nicely. Have that intention. Also, the sense of natural. Okay. And when you feel your body's ready, take a nice deep breath. Sort of bring your whole being into it. There's a mystery called knowing. And part of the mystery are connected other mysteries. The mystery of learning. There's a mystery called teaching, teacher. where learning takes place, where knowing takes place. And when the knowing is in alignment with what is actually present, it gives rise to a mystery called wisdom. And this wisdom reveals to us our connections, and this mystery of companionship. And all these arise from this shared truth, which is everything we just described. So whatever experience comes up, say thank you for this display. Can I see what's underneath, please? Whatever experience arises is an opportunity to connect with primordial nature. So be grateful to whatever experience comes up. Don't be fooled by the appearance. Accept the mystery as just mystery. Enjoy the play. whatever gifts we may have received from our own minds, our own innate guide. May it help us move forward. And as we move forward, may it help us help those along the way. Gyawadi Gyoke Sunam Yeshe Dzogdoshin Sunam Yeshe Lechungwe Damba Guni Dombaru. Get ready to come out of the meditation. Have a sense of the gift the meditation gave you. Stay aware of it, how it feels to you. Be grateful and take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe out, let yourself reconnect with your immediate surroundings. Deliberately, consciously reconnect to your surroundings, through your sense of touch, your sense of hearing, and your sense of sight. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. And so happy to see all of you. Thank you. Good night. And good morning to one person. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mia. Thank you.
Thank you, Phuntsok. So good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you. Oh, my goodness.